Why do I still feel empty after getting everything I wanted? You didn't choose to hide. You just noticed it was safer when you did. The smile came easier than the explanation. The "I'm fine" came faster than the truth. And over time, it stopped feeling like a lie. It felt like survival. But lately, even your silence feels loud. You laugh in the group chat, then stare at the wall like something's missing. You check off the list and still feel like you're failing. Why does doing everything right still leave you feeling wrong? You've convinced the world you're okay. But the mask is cracking, and you're the only one who hears it. You've done everything right. The calendar's full, the smile lands. You show up, respond on time, hold eye contact just enough to seem present. But underneath, there's nothing left to hold. You sit at your desk and stare. Not because you're lazy, not because you're distracted, but because something inside you refuses to move. Like your body's going through the motions, but your mind, it's somewhere else entirely. Somewhere quieter, somewhere empty. You answer texts, you nod during meetings, you laugh at things you didn't hear. And every time someone says, "You seem so put together," a part of you flinches like they've said something cruel. Because you've built that image, and now it's become a cage. There's a version of you they think exists. Competent, strong, always okay. And to break that illusion feels like betrayal. So you keep it up, even when it hurts, even when it costs you the last piece of yourself that still feels real. You weren't always this removed. There's this memory. You don't talk about it. You barely let yourself think about it. You were maybe 10. You came home crying. Someone said something cruel at school. You didn't even understand it, but it stung. And you remember walking into the room, eyes red, voice trembling. And someone looked at you. Not angry, just tired. They said, "You're too sensitive." Not harshly, almost kindly, like it was advice, like it was something you could fix. You wiped your face, nodded, and that was the moment. Not the pain, the decision. The moment you decided that feeling was dangerous, that if you couldn't control what others said, you could at least control how much it hurt. So you learned to hold it in, to rehearse your smile before entering the room, to measure your tone, to shrink the parts of you that trembled too easily. And the people around you, they praised it, said you were mature for your age, said you were resilient, said you were strong, but you weren't. You were just learning how to disappear. It's subtle now, the loop. So practiced, you barely notice. You wake up already in performance mode. Scroll, smile, shower, hide. You don't check in with yourself, you check your notifications. You don't ask how you feel, you ask what's expected. And by the time the day ends, you're so far from yourself, you can't tell if you're tired or just numb. You make plans you don't want. Say "I'm good" when you're not. And every time you're alone, you feel this strange flatness. Not sadness, not anger, just this hollow, muted absence. And maybe that's worse, because at least pain would mean you're still connected, still inside your own body. But here's what no one sees. You want to stop, you do. You want to be real, to say, "I'm not okay," without needing a script, without softening it with a joke. But the second you try, something in your chest tightens. Something in your brain starts calculating. What if they think I'm too much? What if they stop trusting me? What if this ruins everything I've built? So you retreat. Again, into the silence, into the smile, into the script, because the fear of breaking character feels bigger than the ache of staying silent. And the part of you that still remembers how to feel, it just gets quieter. You probably know this feeling, even if you've never said it. When someone praises you for being strong, for being calm, for being the one who holds it all together, and all you can think is, "If you knew what it cost me to look like this, you wouldn't say that." You didn't become this way overnight. You just stopped expecting anyone to handle the truth. So you buried it. Under competence, under kindness, under success. You convinced yourself it was noble, to spare others your chaos, to be the one who absorbs, not disrupts, to make it look easy. But here's the part that still stings. You've built a life that doesn't have room for your real self anymore. And now, you don't know where to put her. The you that breaks. The you that doesn't know what she wants. The you that cries in stairwells and deletes the evidence. No one's asking you to be that version, but no one's stopping you either. So you stay trapped. Not by anyone else, just by the idea that falling apart means you've failed. But you haven't failed. You've just been performing survival so long, you forgot what it felt like to be seen. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing you did it to yourself. No one asked you to disappear. They just didn't notice when you did. And so you made it easier for them. You became smaller, quieter, more agreeable. Until the version of you that had needs, that had sadness, that had depth, felt inconvenient. Too much, too fragile, too honest. And this is where something quietly broke. Because the more you edited yourself to be palatable, the more you lost the appetite to exist as you were. You became someone they could trust, but not someone you could trust. You told yourself you were strong, that being unbothered was power, that holding it in meant you were mature. But what if that wasn't strength? What if it was silence? Wearing confidence like a mask? What if every time you said, "I'm fine," you buried another part of yourself that wasn't? And now you've buried so much, you can't remember where the real you even lives. This is when the silence started to scream. Not in public, not in big dramatic ways, but in small, stupid moments. Like forgetting why you walked into a room, or rereading the same message 3 times because none of it lands, or looking at someone laughing and thinking, "I used to feel things that deeply. What happened?" You tell yourself it's just stress, just a bad week, just burnout. But deep down, you know, it's not just exhaustion, it's grief. Grief for the self you keep postponing. What if you stopped knowing who you are, but kept pretending you did? What if your strength was just you holding in the screen for too long? What do you do when rest feels more dangerous than collapse? Because if you stop, you'll have to feel it. All of it. And there's no map back from that. You got so good at hiding that even your own reflection feels like a stranger. You smile, and it's muscle memory. You laugh, and it echoes somewhere you no longer live. You built a version of yourself to survive, and now you're trapped inside it. Right here is where you got used to disappearing. Not suddenly, not violently, just slowly, quietly, repeatedly, until no one had to push you away, because you already stopped showing up. And the hardest part? No one noticed. Not even you. Maybe it didn't start as hiding. Maybe it was just protection. You didn't want to lie. You just didn't want to make it worse, so you held it in. You made it easier for them. You stayed quiet, until quiet became who you were. And now, you're not even sure what it would sound like to be real. Sometimes it hits you in the most ordinary places. The walk between rooms, the moment after a joke, that hollow click of the door closing, and realizing no one's looking. And still, you hold your posture. Like someone might be watching, like it matters. Even when it's just you, even when it hurts. It wasn't that you couldn't let go, it's that you never knew what it meant to be held safely first. You weren't faking strength, you just didn't know where to place your softness. What if they only ever knew the version of you that stayed silent? What if all this time, you've been trying to find yourself in a performance you never wanted? You almost said something once, but the room didn't feel safe enough. You almost asked for help, but you weren't sure how to survive the answer. You almost stopped pretending, but the mask was already halfway on. Maybe this isn't healing. Maybe it's just hearing your own voice again,